Welcome, everybody. I'm thrilled to be speaking with Dr. Tracey Arbour, who will be presenting a lecture at the up-and-coming conference, Wisdom for a World in Transition, which is being held on the 1st and 2nd of November 2025 in Ocala, Florida. So Tracey is a trained physician, an esoteric healer, and a bridge between two worlds, ancient metaphysical knowledge and modern quantum science. Her talk is linking ancient wisdom to quantum science and is going to be part of a weekend of transformation and insight. So Tracey, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you for having me here today. And thank you, everybody, for listening to what we have, because it is a very exciting time, and learning about the esoteric sciences is what the New Age is going to be all about. We're entering a new era.
If I can ask you a little bit about your personal journey. You began your professional life in a very conventional medicine and surgery. Can you tell us about the moment or moments that led you to step into the world of integrative healing and esoteric science?
Well, about 28 years ago, I had a life-changing experience. Actually, it happened in the surgical suite where I was doing a routine surgery. And as I was finishing up the procedure, I realized I was going into an anaphylactic allergic reaction from the latex gloves that I had been wearing. I knew I had the allergy, but it hadn't gotten that bad until that point. That fated date in October of 1997, when my career came to an end because of that. Could no longer practice traditional medicine and surgery anymore. So I guess what happened was I just started to read about alternative medicine and holistic medicine, things that wouldn't bring me into the OR or traditional medicine, that I would need to wear the gloves or be in that environment. And I started reading books by Carolyn Myss and Louise Hay, Dr. Andrew Weil, and like Dr. Brian Weiss, well-known physicians in their field. And it got me interested in it, so I started to follow along the lines of holistic medicine and joined the American Holistic Medical Association, which has developed now. This was back in 1997. So over the years, it has developed into the Academy of Integrative Health and Medicine now. I was one of the founding fathers of the Michigan chapter of the AIHM here, starting to bring correspondence courses and just accredited CME,
sure.
continuing medical education.
Yeah, sure.
To the physicians.
What was the biggest challenge in moving from allopathic medicine into more spiritual and energy-based practices?
I think now, during this time period now, it wouldn't be so bad because people are aware of alternative medicine and energy medicine. But back in the late 1990s and the early 2000s, the allopathic community was still considering it to be woo-woo medicine. Nothing was really researched and proven to their standards yet. But we are definitely getting there now with the new machinery and the new institutes that are able to develop them.
Sure, yeah. So you were involved with Claregate College, and I know that you now continue some of Dr. Baker's legacy. So what drew you to his teachings in particular?
Well, it was interesting. Back in 2007, I was attending a body, mind, spirit symposium here in Michigan and happened to see a book called The Opening of the Third Eye, written by Dr. Douglas Baker. I bought the book, and the vendor that was offering that book also had a sign-up list that you could sign up, and he gave free lectures at the local Theosophical Society. Well, I was very excited about this, so I took the book home, and I wasn't able to attend any of those lectures till 2 years later because I had active teenagers and life was crazy with family at that time. And I finally was able to attend my very first lecture at the Theosophical Society, given by David Zimmerman. And it just so happened to be on the book I bought, Opening of the Third Eye, coincidentally. At the end of that lecture, I was speaking with David, and he invited me to come to England to Little Elephant for the Claregate College Summer School. And of course, I took him up on that offer and came and met Dr. Baker, and it was an amazing, eye-opening summer. It was just amazing. And I went back the following year in 2010 at Dr. Baker's invitation, and he invited my family. He was so kind and generous, and that's how it all got started. And from there, I took the metaphysical course and continued with esoteric healing.
So your lecture explores the connection between the Anu of Theosophical teachings and what physicists call today quarks. For people who are new to this idea, what is an Anu and why is it so significant?
Well, the Anu is actually a theosophical term for what the quantum physicists now call the quark. And it is the most fundamental particle of all matter and life in our universe. It is what the Hadron Collider and the Higgs boson was supposed to prove is the quote-unquote God particle. It is what everything in our universe, including us, is made of. So it is, and it sounds complicated. I'm not a physicist, but it's very simple. Everybody who has had elementary science can understand what I'm going to talk about. Everybody knows what an atom is, and basically we're going down the rabbit hole in an atom and looking further into it.
Certainly. I mean, we're in a time when science and spirituality are starting to converge. So how does this topic reflect that intersection?
Well, it is, let me put it this way, and I know you know this, Alan, but we're actually, as human beings, given some help. And every century, there's usually a new key that's given out.
Sure.
19th century, it was magic, and people were into seances and materializations and that type of thing. In the 20th century, we had psychology, which opened us up to our consciousness through Jung and Assagioli and Maslow and those type of things. Well, we're now in a new century, in a new millennium, and quantum physics happens to be the key. And so quantum is what's bringing us into the future now, which is we've always looked out into the gross physical matter. We now have to start looking within, and it's our first steps. We're taking our baby steps and starting to work
Sure.
the inner worlds now.
Yeah, sure.
Causality.
Sure. So do you think clairvoyant observation is part of this exploration?
Absolutely.
Can you share what kind of role that can play in understanding subatomic structure from an esoteric point of view?
And that is basically what my lecture is going to help people see, that it took us until 2012 with the Hadron Collider to actually find this particle where Theosophy and not even just Theosophists, but they were Theosophists, had found this hundreds of years before and drew pictures of it and knew what it was doing and explained it. And it's just amazing. And it didn't cost them the billions that it cost for the Hadron Collider.
Sure. So, I mean, obviously, you must think it's really important, especially now, for people to understand the spiritual nature of matter.
I do. It's extremely important because we are now starting a new world. We're going into a new era. And this is if we don't even know who we are and what we're made of, what we're coming, where we come from. And this is basically the foundation. And it's kind of like in probably another 50 years, this is going to be common knowledge, like the sun revolves around the earth kind of thing. This is a basic, like Einstein's E equals mc square. Energy and mass are interchangeable. The anu, or the quark, is the basic particle from which everything comes.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you're a practitioner of esoteric healing and energy balancing. So, how do these practices help people in the context of today's complex and very high stress world?
Well, esoteric healing actually works on the cause, not the symptom. I worked in Western medicine for a very long time. And what we did in Western medicine was treat the symptoms, put a little bandage on what needed to be put on. It's great for emergency situations, but for long-term healing, esoteric healing, when you start to work with the body's energy, we all know now that we're electromagnetic beings. We all know now that our thoughts create our reality, and our emotions are magnetic and bring to us whatever we're emoting. So esoteric healing is very, very important. But I always like to say I practice East meets West.
Sure.
Both are important equally.
Yep. I mean, with your background, that certainly allows you to speak both the language of science and spirit. We can put it in those terms. And
I try.
Yeah. I mean, how do you think?
Easy.
Yeah. How do you think that's helped you to connect with people who may be from very, very different belief systems?
Well, I think with having an allopathic background, I'm very scientific and I have that mind. But I've also have that spiritual aspect. Ever since a child, I've been open to spirituality. My ancestors, my grandmothers, both were very spiritual. My mother was very spiritual. I think I've always had that balance. And I think that's what helps. Again, the East meets West. You have to meet in the middle, because not always is one thing going to work. If you're having a heart attack, you don't want to go to an esoteric healer. You better get yourself to an emergency room. But if you're having all kinds of psychological issues, emotional issues, things like that, you're trying to work out, we now have psychology, psychiatry, it's starting to bridge.
Yeah,
We're
sure.
Bridging.
Yeah.
And that's what we need, because we need to treat the whole person.
Yeah, we are
Obviously.
holistic beings. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're not just a physical body.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, obviously, this year's conference is called Wisdom for a World in Transition. So, what does that title mean to you personally?
Well, I think it just says it all, because it is a world in transition. And anybody who's even not esoteric or even close to thinking about anything metaphysical or scientific can look at the world and see that it's in a transitional stage. And it just depends on how aware you want to be, how much you want to know, how much you'd like to learn. I think it's all becoming available now. And this conference is an amazing conference to help bridge that gap between the old world and the new world.
Yeah. So what do you hope attendees will feel or experience and understand by the time they leave your lecture?
I hope they'll understand that they're part of a bigger whole, that they're not alone, that we're all experiencing this same thing, but just in different perspectives. I hope that it opens them up to asking more questions, to delving further deeply into things and learning more about themselves and the world that they live in.
Yeah. I mean, for someone who might be on the fence, maybe they've never attended a spiritual or esoteric event before, what would you say to encourage them to join us this November?
Well, the difference between regular science and esoteric science is esoteric sciences are a science. They're not woo-woo. It is literally a science. There are scientific methods to it. It's something that has been known for a very, very long time by the ancients, but was only taught at that time to their highest initiates or priests. Probably mostly because the consciousness at that time of a human being's, ability was not as great as it is today. And I think today, because our consciousness has expanded so much to this point, that we are now able to comprehend. So these are hidden sciences that have been there for aeons.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, Tracey, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and
Thank
your
you,
journey
Alan.
and your vision. I mean, you really are a guide and a bridge between two worlds. And I know that you bring a lot of clarity and insight and healing where it's most needed. And
I
I
hope
just want
so.
to finish up to say to everybody, don't miss the opening lecture, Wisdom for a World in Transition, on Sunday, the 2nd of November. And the event is going to be in Ocala, Florida, but you can join us online if you can't make the journey to Florida. And we will put the URL up on the screen here so you'll be able to copy that. So, Tracey, thank you so much for joining me today and look forward to
Thank you.
seeing you in November.
Will do. Thank you, Alan.
Great. Thank you.